A warlord in a country without a strong national government is a person who exercises military, economic, and political control over a region, largely because of coercive control over the armed forces. Warlords have existed throughout much of history, albeit in a variety of different capacities within the political, economic, and social structure of states or ungoverned territories. The term is most often applied to China in the mid-19th century and the early 20th century. The term can also be used for any supreme military leader. The first appearance of the word warlord dates to 1856, when used by American philosopher and poet Ralph Waldo Emerson in a highly critical essay on the aristocracy in England. Piracy and war gave place to trade, politics and letters. The warlord to the law lord. The privilege was kept, whilst the means of obtaining it were changed. During the First World War, the term appeared in China as Junfa, taken from the Japanese Gunbatsu, which was taken in turn from the German. It was not widely used until the 1920s, when it was used to describe the chaos after 1918, when provincial military leaders took local control and launched the period that would come to be known in China as the warlord era. In China, Junfa is applied retroactively to describe the leaders of regional armies who threatened or used violence to expand their rule, including those who rose to lead and unify kingdoms, although warlords were present historically in either pre-modern states or weak state societies, and in countries designated fragile states or failed states in modern times. There is a tremendous degree of variance in the political, economic, and societal organization, structure, and institutions of states where warlordism exists. There is also a divergence of opinion within the field of political science as to what specifically constitutes warlordism, particularly in the context of the historical setting. There are two major functional distinctions when considering warlords and their relationship with a state. The first is one in which the warlord functions within the political framework through a degree of bargaining with the state regime so that the warlord, sometimes individually and sometimes in a coalition with other warlords, is acting with the explicit consent of or at least in accord with the regime. This can be viewed as cooperative warlord politics. The other is one in which the warlord is operating independently of the state and is viewed as a rebel, insurgent or strategic political competitor of the regime. This is commonly viewed as ungoverned warlordism. Warlords can also fall into a hybrid category, temporarily joining a warlord coalition in collusion with the regime or defecting for political expedience, transitioning from one paradigm to the other based upon strategic interests. The other major consideration in categorizing warlords is through the lens of history. Warlordism was a widespread, dominant political framework that ordered many of the world's societies until the modern state became globally ubiquitous. Often warlord governance in pre-modern state history was constructed along tribal or kinship lines, and was congruent with early perception of nation. In colonial empire, warlords served in both cooperative political capacities and as leaders of rebellions. In modern states, the presence of warlords is often seen as an indicator of state weakness or failure. American historian David G. Herman noted, warlordism is the default condition of humanity. Economist Stereos Kapardas views warlordism as a default, albeit inefficient, competitive economic model that emerges in states where state capacity is low, but that innately evolves into an institution governing political order that uses violence or the threat of it to secure its access to rent-producing resources. It may actually have a stabilizing effect on a region. In both cases, there is an inherent inefficiency in the model, as resources are wasted on unproductive arming and fighting. However, the functionality is often sustainable because it presents citizens with no choice but to accept rent levies in exchange for protection. Charles Tilly, an American political scientist and sociologist, theorized that organized crime can function as a means for war and state-making. He argues that the monopoly of crime by the state, in this case being the warlords, is in order to receive protection from external rivals as well as internal political rivals. Political scientist Jesse Driscoll uses the term redistribution politics to classify the Bargaining process between warlords and the regime in states where cooperative warlord politics prevails, and when that bargaining leads to accords or informal arrangements concerning the extraction of rent, which can refer to natural resources, territory, labor, revenue or privilege. In his study of warlordism in Georgia and Tajikistan, Driscoll cites land reform, property ownership,